Ladies and gentlemen, Psalms 81 says, blow the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, in our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel, a law of the God of Jacob, as he ordained in Joseph for a testimony, when he went out through the land of Egypt, when I heard a language that I did not understand. I read some of this scripture yesterday, and I'm just adding to it. When I didn't understand a language in a place I was in, he had this come out, praise. And what's interesting about what I just said is that this testimony, this praise, even though you're in a place which you don't understand, you can give your testimony. You can give your praise. And life is a beautiful thing. Thankfulness and gratitude and praise for life. You can even speak it in a place where you don't even understand what the people are saying. They don't understand you. But everybody can see joy in a human face. Joy for life. A couple of days ago, on Vero, David Pena said this. Steppenwolf slams his axe into the ground, causing it to crack with fire. At first, it seems like nothing. Right here, it looks like a design or symbol. Am I right, Zack Snyder? And Zack answers, do the math. And another person says, David Pena says, do you mean the equation? And then Just the Beeb says, so many deep underlying references in these movies. Now we potentially have references to the anti-life equation. And you may ask yourself, what is the anti-life equation? And what is the symbol? And what is Zack Snyder hinting to? So we get into all of that. But first, let's look at what this guy is talking about. So Steppenwolf here, he takes his axe, he slams it into the earth. The earth cracks with lava from the axe. And when we look, we see there's cracks and formations in the ground. And we look closer, we see these formations and cracks curve a certain way. They curve this way, and then they go out and come back in and curve, right? When we see it from afar, we can see that they're all forming these circles, and then on the ends of them are these two things going out this way. All right, and they're making many of them. All right, and when you look at the Great War, you see the cracks and you see the lava running through it and the circles with the little hooks. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So, what is the anti-life equation? Because Zack Snyder said, do the math. And somebody hints to the anti-life equation. Let's just talk about it. The anti-life equation is an equation that you see here. And basically it says loneliness plus alienation plus fear plus despair plus self-worth divided by mockery, divided by condemnation, divided by misunderstanding, multiplied by guilt, shame, failure, and judgment, where N equals Y, where Y is hope and N is folly. Folly equals hope. And love equals lies, and life equals death, and self equals Darkseid. That is the anti-life equation. And you're saying to yourself, well, what's that? Well, a better way to understand it is to understand it in the context of the life equation. The life equation is a mathematical formula that reads companionship plus understanding plus assurance plus joy plus altruism divided by respect divided by commendation divided by sympathy multiplied by innocence, dignity, success, and acceptance. Y is therefore equal to N, where Y is despair and N is caution. And love equals truth, death equals rebirth, and self equals light. It's the opposite of the anti-life equation. And it says that the anti-life equation is a mathematical proof that life is meaningless, as said down here, whereas the life equation is a mathematical proof that life is worth living. And if you look, they're really opposites to each other. Companionship, loneliness. Understanding, alienation. Or, as nationalists would say, isolation. Assurance and fear, to keep a pure race, that is. Assurance, where you assure someone, instead you try to instill fear. Joy, instead, will be despair. Altruism will be self-worth. Respect is mockery. Commendation is condemnation. Sympathy is misunderstanding. Innocence is guilt. Dignity is shame. Success is failure. Judgment, understanding is judgment. And then when you look, I'm sorry, acceptance is judgment, sorry. And where hope is equal to folly. In the life equation, caution is equal to despair. Love is equal to truth, where in the anti-life, love is equal to lies, death is equal to rebirth, life is equal to death, and self is equal to light. But self here is equal to the dark side. Who's Darkseid? Well, first to understand Darkseid, Darkseid is represented by the Omega symbol. The Omega symbol, as in all things, Greek, means the end. So Darkseid is all about the end of life. But for him to have the end of life, and we saw that in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, where Batman comes out in his dream and he sees the Omega symbol. And this is reflected in Justice League Darkseid War, where we have this character here, which I'll show you here. So you see the parallels. Her name is Grail, which is the daughter of Darkseid. And here she takes this Omega symbol and lights it on fire by hitting her axe into it. And you can see satellites of planets around it and some existential planets on the sides. And here she is with Darkseid. Alright? Darkseid is a new god. Alright? So when we go back and we read that equation, if I were to, then it makes sense. The equation for the anti-life equation says that everything self is equal to Darkseid. In other words, the will of a person is now given over to Darkseid. And in essence, if a person loses their will, whether they are alive or dead, it's basically that their life is over. Because it is free will that allows people to be alive and things. Okay? It makes them less predictable. And so Darkseid was seeking out the anti-life equation when he found out that there's a life equation. And he therefore sought out to control all life. And he was going to Earth to find out if there was... because he had found out that there were some substances of the anti-life equation there. And it was fully encapsulated in one individual, actually, who, I think he died or something like that. Now, anyway, the point behind it is that when you see this pattern in the ground, let's look at it very closely here. You can see that this is the end of the Omega symbol. See that? It's the end of the Omega symbol there in the ground. Again, you see the ends of the Omega symbol here. And remember, this is what the Omega symbol looks like. So this is the ends of it you see in the picture. But it's more than that. Now we see it's a proliferation of these Omega symbols, indicating that Darkseid wants the world to be in his image, in his likeness. And in fact, if you listen to Diana talk about it, Steppenwolf is actually allowing the Mother Boxes to convert the world into his birth world, which is Apocalypse, which is Darkseid's world. And when he strikes the parademons with his axe, the parademons become creatures that live off of fear. They die. The people who are cut down by him die, and they come back up as these creatures which don't have the will of their own anymore. They're fed off of fear. All the things that the anti-life equation are built on. So what Zack Snyder was hinting to when we looked at this here is that this is Darkseid, his will, when Steppenwolf came down, it's Darkseid's will that all worlds be in his image. And not only in his image, but under his will, his control, completely. They lose all control of themselves. They rise up as parademons, and they rise up under his control. And so it hints towards the anti-life equation. I'm not saying that Darkseid has the anti-life equation as present, but I'm pretty sure that that's what Darkseid desires, and therefore it hints towards it. This is what Darkseid, that's why Steppenwolf is conquering all these worlds in Darkseid's name. See? So that's basically what it is. And so it's not that I didn't talk about the Omega symbol that I saw many a time here. And while it doesn't look exactly like this symbol here that we see, because this is just one, and it's not on fire, obviously. Whereas over here, and usually it's on fire, like she has it on fire here. And that's sent to Darkseid. And here, if you look at it here, you can see there's many of them, and it's on fire. Because Steppenwolf, as he hits the axe into the ground, it forms the Omega symbol, Darkseid. So all universes and all worlds must bow to Darkseid. And he even wins, he conquers worlds in Darkseid's name. So you get the hint that this is basically what the anti-life equation is, and it hints towards it. And that's what Zack Snyder was basically saying. And that's his way of probably explaining how Darkseid gets the world. But basically, Darkseid, once he has that equation now, he can get any sentient being under his control and his will. The opposite of it is the life equation. And again, it can be equally as dangerous because it's about freeing up people's will to do whatever they so choose. But in the process, you can be consumed by that. And you just on the other spectrum. I think Highfather almost went down. He found himself moving into the direction that Darkseid was in when he found himself pursuing the life equation. You know, Darkseid was trying to pursue the anti-life equation. Now, it's interesting because these things are actually happening in the world today. Absolute rulers, absolute dictators, they literally want complete control over people. And you find that in industries, that's what happens sometimes. And so I just want to tie that into the MCU a little bit. The MCU, Loki said once, he said, you people, you're dying to be controlled. You're dying to kneel under something. And it's very true. The masses generally have to be guided by people who are supposedly authority in fields, and they just give over their will to them. They don't think. They don't have independent mindsets. And we see these dictators right now. Donald Trump. We have Vladimir Putin. We have Kim Jong-un. And the people are impressed under them, and they're under their control, and they don't want any other ideas come out. They want complete control. The anti-life equation is that. And what I like about the DCEU is the concepts that they link their different movies with. The movies are linked by concept. They're not linked by characters. Whereas in the MCU, the characters link the movies. So it's not so much about, like for instance, in Age of Ultron, they linked up Wakanda and the story of the Claw with Wakanda. So Wakanda is put in the context of a sequence of characters, not in a sequence of ideals and thematics. So that's the thing with the DCU. It's much more broader, and I like how they treat these comic book characters. And let me just be very honest with you guys. Jack Kirby, he's an interesting guy and everything, and he had all these imaginative concepts and stuff that kind of go into the occult and stuff. But I got to tell you, some of his concepts are out there, man. They're wild as hell. I want to see what Ava DuVernay does to ground those concepts in and make them relevant to our time and to us. She has to ground them in. So she has a pretty interesting task with this kind of crazy out there stuff. I saw Patty Jenkins do an excellent job with Wonder Woman and the gods in making it sensible and making it something in a format that we could relate to, and yet at the same time one that is actually real. You know, you look at Star Wars, they were able to take some very, very ridiculous concepts and ground them and make them relevant and actually deeper and important to us. So I don't know. Marvel has not been doing a very good job, and right now with Thanos coming, oh my God. I mean, I already did a video on that, so I'm not going to talk about that. This is the DCEU, but suffice it to say, I would say the MCU is doing a horrible job of really taking big concepts and out there concepts and making sense of them and grounding them. They're not doing that. It's just a very superficial fandom they're appealing to, and I can tell that the Disney's not trying to go deep into anything. They're just trying to dig money out of people's pockets. So if you want them to rip you off, fine, man. I'm not excited for Infinity War at all, and I pretty much can tell you what the story is now. So back to the DCU. So yes, Jack Kirby has some kind of out there concepts, man. Some of it's ridiculous. Straight up stupid, okay? You know, and occultic and stuff, and I'm not into that stuff, okay? But I always say it's the storyteller, the guy who's making the movie, that makes these concepts grounded. Let me just give you an example of a Marvel character who made that character, the TV show that made that character very popular. People don't know this, and that's what made people fall in love with this character. That's the Incredible Hulk, which is a TV series in the 80s, 70s, and very, very early 90s. Which was done by Bill Bixby, was the lead character. And we usually follow Bill Bixby. It wasn't all about the Hulk, it was about Bill. And again, good storytelling focuses not on the superpowers of a being and how great the superpowers. No, they focus always on the humanity, because that's what we know. We're human beings, so we have to focus on humanity of characters. If you focus on the humanity of the characters, then the other things are great, but... And the other thing I wanted to just say is just the way, the quality of that TV show is at such a standard that's higher than any other. The CW is a joke. Netflix is crap compared to that that television series that happened in the 80s. I advise you guys to go check out The Incredible Hulk. Just the introduction is incredible, and it's believable because it's this scientist who's experimenting, tapping into the higher, stronger potential that was inside of human beings, and accidentally stumbles upon it, and he can't control it. And so this raging beast comes out of him, and this beast has been accused of killing him and someone else. And he always goes to his gravesite because he's dead. He has a problem because he can't tell people the truth because he hasn't been able to control the beast. And so he's going about, and he's on a journey looking for a cure. David Banner, he was called, David Bruce Banner. And one of the things that the producer purposely did, he said, these comic book characters are just too ridiculous by Stan Lee. And so he tried to ground the character more in reality. He tried to stay with reality and realism as much as he possibly could. And because of that, he was able to add drama, depth, gravitas to the story. It was a tragic story of a guy who was always alone because he couldn't stay too long in a given area, because even though he's looking for a cure, this beast could break forth and anything could happen, right? Because he's not aware of what's exactly happening. And so, and just the way how they did the Hulk out was just fantastic. They have not been able to do that so far. I think the closest they've come was with Joss Whedon with Avengers Age of Ultron. That's the closest they've come to really hulking this guy out. And it still isn't good. It feels like if the guy is popping like popcorn. He's like, boop, 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 and he gets all this muscle all of a sudden. That's stupid, man. You wanna show the musculature changing. You wanna see that stuff ripping. You want it slowed down. You don't do it fast. What the hell, man? You want him to transform in a kind of way you can see. If you have to slow down time even, so you can see his definition, his muscles ripping out. That's the real Hulk. And then he goes, ah! And then of course, he got super speed and stuff. And you got to know how to handle that. You can't have him running like a Muppet. Anyway, that's for another day. So my impression of the Incredible Hulk comes from there. When you look at the intro with David Banner, he looks at his grave, the tragedy, and then he looks up at the camera, and then you see Lou Ferrigno flexing away. Man, that shit is just off the charts. It reminds me of Knight Rider, one of the dopest TV shows I ever seen. And that movie, The Incredible Hulk. That's what made Hulk popular, by the way. Really, 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 really popular. Okay, it was the TV show, The Incredible Hulk, that people who didn't even read Marvel Comics really loved it. And that's where it goes. And the movies have just never been on par with that stuff. The quality, because they tried, but no, they're not on the level. So that's what it is. They've been trying to get that comic book character right, and so far, in my opinion, they've got it wrong. And why? Because, as I said before, comic books are somewhat stupid. They are somewhat ridiculous in certain respects. Now, DC goes deeper into deeper topics and stuff, and I'm sure Marvel does in certain comics as well. But at the end of the day, if you're going to portray a movie on the screen, representing a character, you got to do it right. You got to represent and give that character respect. And I just don't feel the Incredible Hulk got respect. I don't feel that certain Marvel characters like Thor has gotten any respect. And so, as I said before, you have to present these characters right. Guardians of the Galaxy, that's what they are. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be wacky. So I'm not worried about them. They did that right. And Marvel can do those kinds of characters right. But they have a hard time doing a serious character right. The best they have done is Captain America, the First Avenger with Paramount. And now they have Black Panther, and they did a pretty decent job with Black Panther. But I already know Infinity War is not going to be all that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, my point is, Jack Kirby has some wacky out there concepts. He went wacky whack. Okay? So Ava DuVernay, she's going to have a tough task of really convincing us that these characters are worth the while for us to watch, because there's some really out there shit that Jack Kirby did that's just plain flat out ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Okay, I mean, you let your imagination run wild if you want to, but you gotta ground that shit down to make me believe it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to wind it back in, and she's gonna have to find that balance. And I see that I don't know how A Wrinkle in Time was. I have to go and watch that movie, and now tell me if she can wind it in, because New Gods is this shit can get wacky real fast. Granny Goodness, what kind of fucking name is that? You know what I'm saying? You gotta wind it back. You gotta make it. How could this Granny Goodness? How she could be? How can she? You have to get to the core of the characters. You have to get to the core of the lore. You have to get to the core of the shit to be able to present that shit good. So it's not going to be as easy as it sounds, right? And that's the problem with the MCU. You telling me that Thanos wants half the population of the universe to live is stupid. Like, why would you want that? And what you gonna do with them? Are you going to make them under your control or something? I mean, you got to do something more. Why you would want to annihilate half and leave half alive? You know, at least with Darkseid, it makes sense. He's killing everything, and he wants everything to end so he can begin everything in his image, like Ego. Except Ego, he made sense as well in a way, but Ego didn't try to, you know. He still wants to proliferate his image. He kind of trying to do an anti-life equation where everything's like his planet, but he's still kind of lame in the sense that everything's in his image. Everything's perfection as far as he's concerned. But he's not putting anything in slavery. You got to put things in bondage. The strong man kind of thing, you know. Because it has to be relevant to now. And that's the thing that I feel the potential of storytelling that has been set up by the DCU, which is conceptual, I think it leads to having deeper stories because of that. And stories you can actually take seriously. And I'm all about taking a character seriously. All right? Marvel doesn't take their character seriously, which is why I don't even know why Black Panther's even rolling up in there and why it's even in Wakanda, man. You should just leave Black Panther out of that because you're about to tear Black Panther down by showing Infinity War. He just was very successful in his own goddamn movie, and now you're going to bring him into Infinity War and drop his value significantly. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, it is what it is. So guys, leave your comments in the comment section below. Any more Marvel fans to come and hate on the DCU, you're invited to come because I got more material to share on the MCU. I ain't even started, man. I've seen people making excuses about certain things, and I'm waiting, man. I'm just waiting with bated breath because I got another one for y'all. Because the shit be a hoodwink, man. They hoodwinking y'all asses. And I got another one for you. And if the best they have to offer, which was Joss Whedon, who did Age of Ultron, was one of the more superior Marvel films out there. And if Joss Whedon went on the DCEU's Justice League and he flopped, what does that say about all the rest of these guys? That's the father of the MCU. So I'm just saying, y'all don't really want to pick a fight with moi, right? Chill, sit in the corner, shut your mouth, go watch Infinity War, okay? That's all I gotta say, because I got more coming if y'all keep on doing this. Keep on egging me on. I tell you, I'm gonna tear down the MCU, and then the whole comic book universe is gonna be gone. Because if Disney goes, trust me, they're gonna hate on the DCEU, and the comic book movies will fall through the roof. They'll just disappear. Okay, so keep it going, man. Keep it going. Comic book movies are the easiest thing to poke fun at, okay? I didn't really like comic book movies to start with, okay? I outgrew them. So if you keep on saying stupid stuff, I'm just gonna have to just pull out the files on the MCU, all right? I don't have a problem with it. Because their movies, barring Black Panther, Captain America the First Avenger, alright, and Iron Man for his novelty, alright, they ain't really got much to show me. Alright, I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but it didn't really show me much, okay? So, if you want to go ahead and watch the MCU fall, keep on talking on this channel. You guys have a great one.